Greetings, Love Gospel Assembly, family, and friends. My name is Francis Diaz. Welcome to our Nuggets of Hope. I will be sharing on the series Biblical Inspiration. Will be sharing from 1 Samuel chapter 25. I will not be reading the whole chapter because it's pretty long, but I will be sharing from different verses. I was inspired by the biblical character of Abigail. I chose her because in this chapter, she shows us how to deal with difficult people and situations in our lives, whether at home, work, or in every aspect of our lives. In this text, you have three characters: David, Nabal, and Abigail. David, who has been anointed by Samuel the prophet to be the next king, but was not king yet. And here, David is on the run from King Saul's wrath. Nabal, whose name means fool, he was arrogant and evil in his dealings. And Abigail, who's intelligent, beautiful, and discerning. If you read the beginning of chapter 25, you'll understand what this concept came from, because it's there. Let me give you some background on what was happening at that time. It was sheep shearing season, which meant it was special festivities going on. And you see that in 1 Samuel 25:36, which says, when Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house holding a banquet like that of a king. He was in high spirits and very drunk. So she told him nothing until daybreak. So you see, Nabal had more than enough to share with David's servants. Let's begin the story. David sent 10 young men to Nabal to ask for compensation for his valuable service. David was looking out for Nabal's sheep, for Nabal's servants, and for Nabal's land. David and Nabal were both from the tribe of Judah. Back in those days, it was the law to help each other. We're going to see that in Deuteronomy 15:11. It says, there will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open-handed toward your brothers and towards the poor and needy in your land. So it was very common for neighbors to ask for provisions. David was not out of order. Nabal was supposed to give them a warm welcome, but he was drunken and disrespectful. Nabal then threw them out with insults. Nabal dismissed God's command to help one another. Nabal's servant, seeing what had happened, went to Abigail, which is Nabal's wife, and told her that what Nabal had done. Here you can see the servants respected Abigail and trusted her. So let's see how Abigail responded. First, she made it personal. She went herself. You're going to see that in verse 18. She was respectful, giving honor. She bowed down to David. You see that in verse 23. She took the blame and asked for forgiveness. You see that in verses 24 through 25. She asked David to accept her offering instead of having a blood war. She knew David was upset and wanted to kill Nabal. 5. She pleaded with David concerning God's principles. This to keep David from sinning. This is when David took a minute and started to see God's hand in this encounter. David concedes, showing spiritual maturity and discernment. She reminded David that God's got him. In chapter 25 of 1 Samuel, we see that God gave Abigail wisdom at a time when trouble was pending, and Abigail understood the importance of this moment. Her obedience to God saved her household. This to me was a good lesson on how not to react quickly when hurt or offended. Hurt feeling never justifies disobedience. God gives us wisdom and discernment, just like Abigail, to make peace with one another and to think before we speak. In the end, God, if you go to chapter 39, you're going to see that God did not forget Abigail. When Nabal died, King David remembered Abigail and asked for her to become his wife. I pray that this nugget will leave you knowing that God has a good plan for all of us. Thank you, and God bless.